Dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to welcome you to this webinar on faith-based interventions in working with violent extremist prisoners. As some of you know, it is organized in partnership with the Prison Committee of the Ministry of Interior of Kazakhstan within the framework of the joint EU-UN initiative supporting the management of violent extremist prisoners and the prevention of radicalization to violence in prisons. Realized through cooperation between the European Union, United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, and the United Nations Counterterrorism Center, the program is implemented in partnership with the UN Counterterrorism Committee Executive Directorate. It supports Kazakhstan in strengthening the management of violent extremist prisoners, as well as in preventing prisoners' radicalization to violence in the course of their imprisonment. The aim is to ensure full compliance with international standards and norms, including the UN Standard Minimum Rules for the Treatment of Prisoners, the so-called Nelson Mandela Rules. The problem of radicalization is widely recognized internationally. However, radicalization within prisons is a particular aspect that calls for immediate attention. Prisons across the world have been identified as possible incubators for radicalization and recruitment by violent extremist groups, and unfortunately, there is no single profile that could ease the identification of a violent extremist or someone who will radicalize others into taking violent action. Radicalization to violence is a process of changing belief and attitude towards justifying the use of violence to achieve certain goals. In some individual cases, the process may take years. In other cases, it may take just a few months. According to the guidelines on radicalization and violent extremism adopted by the Council of Europe for prisons and probation services, many violent extremists have either limited knowledge of religion or a very particular interpretation of it, based on an extremist ideology. Therefore, one of the key roles of religious experts, including theologians, is to increase prisoners' knowledge about religion and to make them more critical about extremist and ideological interpretations. I would like to highlight that one of the main objectives of the joint EU-UN program is to strengthen the capacity of different actors working with violent extremist prisoners, including religious experts, to effectively design and implement prison-based disengagement interventions for violent extremist prisoners. It is critical for religious experts and prison officers to work together in prisons holding violent extremist prisoners and to be able to recognize signs of radicalization. This is especially true for those who are in direct contact with individuals at risk of radicalization to violence. Capacity development of prison officers and representatives of religious groups is therefore needed to help them recognize and interpret signs of radicalization to violence and to help them judge whether an intervention is appropriate or not. It will clearly help the work of prison officers and religious experts if they have a thorough understanding of and appreciate the important role they can play in supporting the process. I firmly believe that the jointly established Prison Staff Training Center on Prevention of Extremist Ideology, based in the Kostanai's Police Academy within the framework of the EU-UN program, significantly contributes to the enhancement of capacity of the prison inspectors responsible for the reorganization of theological and rehabilitation work in prisons of Kazakhstan. On behalf of the European Union delegation, I would like to express my gratitude to the Prison Committee of the Ministry of Interior of Kazakhstan for their constructive cooperation and reiterate our commitment to continue supporting the joint efforts on prevention of radicalization to violence in prisons of Kazakhstan. Ahmed.